Howdy, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Juan Reyes, and I'm a technical marketing engineer in Dell's Apex Cloud Services team with a focus on modern applications and solutions. In this presentation, I will demonstrate how developers can integrate SUSE Rancher on an Apex private cloud environment with Apex Data Storage Services and Dell CSI drivers. Apex is Dell Technologies' breakthrough portfolio of as-a-service offerings that simplify digital transformation by creating IT, agility, and control. Apex Private Cloud and Data Storage Services are part of Dell's as-a-service solutions built to help DevOps teams minimize pain points and counter when developing new applications. In the next few slides, I will give more color to each service. Here's a bird's eye view of the services that are currently under Apex portfolio. The Apex console provides the self-service experience for our customers, where they can view the catalog of infrastructure services, configure and subscribe to new services with seamless built-in approvals and purchasing, deploy workloads and provision services for use, monitor the services to meet business requirements while monitoring key performance indicators, proactively optimize your IT estate with complete transparency of performance, utilization, and spend, and grow or add new services with the ability to quickly expand capacity to meet evolving demands. Apex Cloud Services provide our compute and search services. The two highlighted offers are what I'll be covering today. Apex Cloud Services include two offers specially geared for private or hybrid cloud environments, each supporting both cloud-native and traditional applications. The private cloud offer provides a high degree of automated lifecycle management built in, so there is less of a need for management services. By bringing a cloud experience to edge and on-prem locations, you'll be able to consolidate compute storage and virtualization with single-click virtualization of environments, push innovation even further with necessary app modernization, BYO infrastructure, supplying your own rack, or using Dell's. If you need a mix of both public and private cloud environments, you may need a hybrid cloud solution. Combining Apex Private Cloud's wealth of resources and Rancher's Kubernetes capabilities, the developers can maximize their productivity in a self-service manner. Apex Data Storage Services is an as-a-service portfolio of scalable and elastic storage resources designed for OpEx treatment. There are just 5 key service levels to choose from: location, on-premises, or in a Dell-managed secure co-location facility, data service, block or file storage, performance tier, 3 levels to choose from based on IOPS and throughput, base capacity, options start at 50 terabytes, term, choose between 1 or 3 years. Apex Data Storage Services enables you to focus on outcomes, not infrastructure. The value propositions include simplicity, so you can remove complexity to deliver more value to your organization, agility, so you can manage unpredictability by responding dynamically to changing business needs, control, so you can reduce risk with flexibility, with flexible storage services that enable a true hybrid cloud strategy. All of which can be delivered and managed for you as a service. With all of the Dell's Technologies innovation you know and trust, delivered how you wish to consume it and where you need it. On-premises, in your distributed data centers, and out to numerous edge locations, in co-locations, facilities adjacent your cloud providers, or natively in the cloud and available from the provider of your choice. Now that I've briefly gone over these offers, let's walk through the SUSE use case and what outcomes these offers can help deliver. I will walk through the steps required to integrate SUSE Rancher on the Apex private cloud with Apex Data Storage Services. So here we have our Apex private cloud environment. We have a 4-node cluster. We have a 3-node Rancher cluster, our K2 Rancher cluster, that's been already provisioned and enabled. And we have already a demo, our K2 cluster already deployed through Rancher. I will go through how the steps to enable that briefly. I've also have enabled a new data storage that's utilizing our ADSS, Apex Data Storage Services, provision as a data store within our environment. And I will also use the CSI drivers so that the containers can provision persistent volumes. But it's just an example of how you can utilize it also as a data storage. So let's go into Rancher. Let's log in. And currently we have the two clusters enabled here in Rancher. So we have the local RK2 cluster that's running Rancher, and then I have a demo already created. But let's go into cluster management and start provisioning and go through the steps of provisioning a new cluster. So we go to create. We are using RK2 and we're going to do VMware vSphere. So we're going to deploy an RK2 cluster. Just a single pool with 3 machines, so we can have the full backup HA. We tell it the data center that we're using. We already have the cloud credentials for our vSphere configured. We're using our data store. In this case, we're just going to use the vSAN data store for the cluster. I'm going to put it in the SUSE folder. Any host will do. Just going to do a basic 2 CPU, 4 gigs, disk, and we are going to enable some configurations for our cloud config to run SUSE. We're going to need 2 networks. We're going to use the management network, VLAN 34, and the SUSE network so that our power sort can be contacted by the cluster. And that is it. We're going to select our template. So we've created a few templates depending on the use case that we're doing. In this case, we're going to have a RK2 ADSS template. I have an RK2 template that doesn't utilize ADSS. I have just my plain operating system with /15 and a RKE /15 template. So we're going to use our RK2 ADSS template for our node and kick off the creation. And it takes a couple of minutes for the cluster to completely deploy. But to speed up the process, we already have a cluster up and running. Again, 3 nodes in this cluster. So let's actually dive into that cluster demo. Now that we have our cluster up and running, we can enable the CSI storage. So if we go to the marketplace, we currently don't have the CSI driver in the marketplace, but that's one thing that we're working on. So we need to add our own internal repo here. So before we do that, we actually need to do some work. We need to create a namespace. So we're going to do kubectl create namespace CSI power store, and it's been created. I'm also going to add my Docker credentials so that I don't have a pool limit restriction. So we're actually going to create here data storage. We're going to do the registry, Docker Hub, Juan Reyes. Get my password in, give it a name, GC Docker, and create it. So that will prevent any pool limits from Docker Hub. So now that we have our namespace and our Docker credentials created, we can actually continue on with adding the repo. So we're gonna create a new repo. It's from a Git repository from the PowerStore team, Dell PowerStore team. And so we give the URL, add a unique name to the repo, and we're gonna give it the current branch, version 2.2.0, and create. So it's pretty fast. So it connects to the GitHub repo, and we go back to charts. Can close this for now. We just want to do the PowerStore, select, continue. We select the PowerStore chart, we do install. We are installing in the CSI PowerStore namespace. We're going to customize some of the installation so that we can provide the necessary values for our environment. So here, at the end of this YAML file, we're going to add our image secret for Docker Hub and some other images that we need to pull for the container to work. And all these instructions are actually in the Dell Technologies PowerStore GitHub documentation. Click Next. And let's open up the shell again. And we're going to install. One thing that's going to ask us to provide is a secret that has all the information of where our PowerStore server is located. So we need to do a kubectl create. I actually need the YAML file. .yaml. And here we're gonna populate it with the credentials information. Make sure that everything's populated correctly. And save this file. Then we need to create the secret. So we actually need this unique identifier the rancher gives to us for our command. And then we do a kubectl create secret generic command. So create secret generic, the CSI config name of our secret, and the namespace CSI PowerStore, and from file that we just created. So we run that, and it's created. Now, if we go under the workloads and go to deployments, here we see that it's deploying the controllers, and we have the 2 pods that are running. So if we go into one of the pods, we go into the recent events, we see that it was actually waiting for the secret to be configured. So that's what we created. And again, everything is documented in the Dell PowerStore documentation for Helm install. So now we're waiting. Now that it's been provided, we're just gonna wait a couple of minutes for this to be deployed. Now we see that the rancher is starting to pull the images and starting the containers. So if we go back to the containers, we should see this refresh and be ready like that. So if we go back to the deployments, we see that the controllers are active and that all the pods are available to it. And just to briefly check what's happening in the background, we can log into our PowerStore manager and view what's happening behind the scenes in the PowerStore. So we log in, we go to the compute host, and we see that there's a new host, the CSI node, that's been connected to our PowerStore, and we see that it's a SUSE Linux compute, and under volumes nothing has been created because we haven't created a storage class. So let's go back to Rancher and let's actually create a storage class file. So again, we populate, everything is documented. So let's clean this up a little. We save it and we can run it. So we do a kubectl create file storage class. So now we have a storage class to play around with in Rancher. So if we go back to storage, we see the storage class and a power storage ext4 has been created and provisioned. Okay, so again, we still haven't created any persistent volumes, so this is still blank. Now let's go back and create a test deployment. So vi test it. That provisions some persistent volumes and persistent volume claims. Test YAML. Okay, and let's save this. Let's run it. Create file test. So now we've created a CentOS pod that has create and persistent volume claims that has been attached to this pod. So if we go back to the workload management and pods, we see the power store that has a CentOS image, and we see the conditions that it's ready and running. So if we go back to our power store manager, if we refresh this, we should see the 3 volume claims that have been created, and here we do the volumes that have been created with different sizes. And if we want to view this even more, we can go back to the pod and use the shell to view the different persistent volumes that have been attached to this pod. So we get mount, and we see the 3 different persistent volumes and the storage that have been attached to this pod. All right, so that's how you integrate SUSE Rancher with Apex Private Cloud and Apex Data Storage Services. So now that we're back, we walked through the capabilities of the Apex Private Cloud and Apex Data Storage Services platforms that allow for a quick creation of Kubernetes clusters with Rancher. If you wish to learn more about Dell Technologies Apex, we encourage you to log into Dell.com for more information about our Apex portfolio of solutions and our joint solutions with SUSE. Thank you.